So, believe it or not, I actually have a lot of recordings just to myself. Just a fucking brain dump. Just so I can talk shit out in my head and straighten it and linearize it and recognize truth and wisdom if I should be so blessed that it comes upon me. And every now and again I listen back to what I recorded. And I was at the gym, of course, the other morning, and I was listening back to one of these, and clear as a bell, I just heard myself say, there has to be a reason. And I think I was referring to I got sidetracked, because, that never fucking happens. And I was trying to figure out what I was talking about, so I know what I was doing. I was saying to myself, now there has to be a reason I was talking about that. But it reminded me of a specific session I had with, well, I'll be honest, I don't know how to describe this woman. I don't know whether to call her a life coach or a counselor. To really label her as either or any would be extremely minimizing. This woman has affected huge, massive shifts in myself and have helped me along my development pathway. But we talked about this obsession that humans have, and me especially, with thinking that there has to be a reason for something. There has to be a reason why someone's stalking me. There has to be a reason I didn't get that job. There has to be a reason this person loves me. There has to, we are just obsessed with reasons. And there again, it goes back to the fact that our society has placed a lot of fucking weight on mental cognition. And for our brains to be comfortable, it has to have a reason, a logical reason for something to happen. Otherwise, and it's not hard to think of examples, right? If we can't figure out a logical reason for something to happen, it makes us extremely uncomfortable. So just in that tiny little second where I heard myself say there has to be a reason, and immediately my innate voice inside me, that small, maybe higher level voice, I'm not really sure, I haven't sussed that out yet, said, why? Why does there have to be a reason? Because, what I was working with this woman is, sometimes there is no fucking reason. The universe is working for everybody, not just us. Sometimes we're part of other people's lessons. Sometimes other people are part of our lessons, and they're sitting there scratching their head going, what the fuck why did that just happen? And they just kind of walk off with this confused look on their face. The universe is driven by magic and mystery. Sometimes there is no reason for the way things happen, or for the things that we think, or sometimes you just can't know a reason. So it was very confronting for me to kind of hear this need for a reason, even after all the work I thought I'd done with just accepting the mystery and fa la la and all that other hippie shit. But I'm obsessed with having to think that there's a reason for why I think, and why I say things, and why I do things. And in that moment, I just asked myself, why can't I just be? Why does there have to be a reason? Why can't I just be? And that voice inside me said, be who? And here's where it gets really funny, because it answered back. It almost screamed, just be my fucking self. And there's anger underneath that. Because goddamn it, why can't I just be myself? Without reason. Why can't I just do what I want to do when I want to do it? Why can't I just be myself? Why do I always have to assign a reason to everything and analyze everything I say, everything I do, everything I feel? Now, part of this is just the fact that I am extremely self-aware. And I happen to like probing myself with sharp, pointy sticks. But there gets a point where I say, fuck it, I just want to be myself. And in that moment, I was instantly transported back to my childhood. Various, things would happen and people would give me that fucking ageless advice. That wonderful ageless advice of just be yourself. You're going on a date and you're nervous. Just be yourself. Going on a job interview. Just be yourself. Why do people have to fucking remind us to just be ourselves? And how many of us get really rip-roaring pissed when they say that? I know I did. I'm putting up my hand. In that moment, I remembered how pissed I would get if anybody said, just be yourself. I got so angry because I would think, how can I not be myself? I can't not be myself. I can't lie. I'm a horrible liar. Like, I don't know how not to be myself, and I'd get really angry. And that's actually really funny because me and my best friends from uni, we were obsessed with that movie I Heart Huckabees, and we'd always laugh hysterically at that part where Marky Mark and Jason Schwartzman are just going back and forth saying, how am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? It's an existential movie, very funny, very meta. But we used to laugh at that, but it's so true. Why the hell do we have to try to be ourselves? And why? So here's what I'm asking. If someone says, just be yourself, who the fuck is that? Like, who do they think you're going to try to be? I suppose this means, don't try so hard. Just be yourself. Just be natural and calm and relaxed. And I'm here to tell you, people, I was not a calm and relaxed person. So they probably should have said, hey, why don't you fucking lock up your insanity for 10 minutes and act like a normal person? Fuck being yourself. That probably would have given me a better shot. But I couldn't. I'm a wild girl. I would say random shit. I would say inappropriate things. I was just, like I said during my other podcast, I was just a total wild card. You couldn't predict what I was going to say. And I didn't know how to stop myself from being like that. But was that actually who I really am? Now this gets really, really going down the rabbit hole now. Yes, it was who I was. No, it is not who I am now. And no, it will not be who I evolve to be in the future. Because I am literally, figuratively, and literally a world away from the person I used to be. Racked with constant anxiety. Always looking to cut someone else down. I used to make people cry for fun. I was cruel. I had deeply significant trauma in myself that I didn't even know was there, let alone knowing how to heal it. So when people would say, just be myself, man alive, I would get pissed. I got so defensive. And what I know because of the spiritual work that I've done and the psychological work that I've done and the biological work that I've done, I've approached this from all angles. And what I know now is when someone confronts us with something that we deeply, deeply want to do, but can't figure out how in ourselves, we get defensive, we get angry. Because that whole time I was like, of course I'll be myself. I wish I couldn't be myself all the time. I wish I could fucking turn off the craziness. I would love that. When really that was just those deeper layers of me hidden, piled underneath 20 tons of fucking anxiety and childhood trauma in various forms. That was the real me saying, I would love to just be myself. I would love to not have to have a reason for what I think and what I feel and what I do. I would love to just walk through life, just being myself and being secure in who that was. Doesn't everybody want that? Is that not what health looks like? But who amongst us are healthy? The fact of the matter is we are human. We are so gorgeously flawed. Now here is the second part of this. The second part of this is the danger of there having to be a reason. So if there has to be a reason, what we're actually doing is trying to assign blame. Because if there is a reason something happened, then someone or something is to blame for it happening. That's a deep one, because blame is a huge, huge, huge fallacy that we assign. It goes along with there having to be a reason. Now, in this very new agey time of life, there's a whole lot of ego hating going on. A whole lot of ego hating. It's the ego. Your ego wants money. Your ego is greedy. Your ego wants to derail your partnerships and relationships and destroy everything and sabotage. And your ego is conceited and vain, and there's just a lot of ego hating. And I'm saying this because I've been there. My person who cannot be labeled. I'll never forget it. I sat down in front of her one day. She had me sussed right from the word go. The kind of gypsy woman that you're terrified of, because when she looks at you, you know she sees everything. She sees the real me. The real me I'm ashamed of. That is how she healed me. I would talk a lot about how my ego wants this and my ego wants that, and I would separate parts of myself and say, my inner warrior is really strong and wants to fight against this person, and my self-sabotager is derailing this aspect of my life, and my victim keeps getting hurt and telling victim stories. And I was actually dividing myself into these archetypes. But chief among them was my ego, that I was very, very quick to blame a lot on. Now, here's the thing. If there is no reason, then there's no one to blame. It's all just happening. It's all just life. And I'm willing to bet that anybody who's listening to this just felt really fucking uncomfortable with that idea. But, boy, can we imagine a world like that? No, just finishing up the ego hating. So, this woman, she goes, "Somebody, you complain that you're not whole, but are you aware of the fact that you purposely divide yourself into these different entities so that you can blame certain archetypes for the things that you do not like about yourself?" And I'm like, oh God, my brain hurts. Oh, that's so painful. I do that. I do create these parts of myself so I can blame, so that when I act like a shitty person, I can blame like a little part of myself, not my whole self. No. Summer as a whole is fine. But that ego, she's a real cunt sometimes. Oh, there goes the C word. Probably going to have to put up a warning about that. Yeah. But this is how it happens, especially if you're like me and you tend to do a lot of self-blaming and self-shaming. So what she did next was quite funny. She pointed at a teapot. We always have peppermint tea at our sessions. She points to a teapot and she goes, your ego's only job is to tell you that you are not the teapot. So do you think it's fair to blame it for all of the shitty things that you do in your life that you don't like about yourself? Your shadows, as it were? Man, I had a hard time. I mean, it took me months. It took me months to work through this. But she kept reminding me, our egos have one purpose: to make us know that we are individual. Otherwise, we would just be part of, we're all connected through energy. And I know this is going to sound really hippy dippy and spiritual and blah. But how do we know? Oh, how do I know that I'm not the cat that's laying next to me? That I'm not the cuckoo clock on the wall? And I know that to most people, they'd be like, because you just fucking do, because you're a human. But why? We take that for granted because it's background noise. But we are all made of the same subatomic particles. We are all made of energy that is mass times the speed of light squared. Since the speed of light squared is a constant, the only thing that makes us different from one another is the differences in our masses and our ego, which tells me I am not the teapot. My ego does not say, get more money and shit all over people so that I can have a car that when I die I can't take with me anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. That's not my ego. If I'm greedy, if I want more money, it's because my sense of security has been destabilized and I'm not feeling grounded, so I think I need more to be more grounded, to be more secure. And it's not my ego. That's me. It's all me. All of it. There is no warrior who likes to fight. There is no ego who wants to be vain and selfish. There is no saboteur who constantly undermines all the things that I strive to succeed in. There's just me. The number one most scary thing for any human is to imagine themselves completely whole and healed. Because once we're healed, we have to take full responsibility for the things that we say, the things that we do, and the things that we feel. There's no get out of jail free card. We can't blame traumatized parts of ourselves for shitty behavior once we're healed. And this is why I myself, I'm not preaching this because I've got it all fucking figured out. Oh my God, I punish myself constantly. I sabotage myself constantly. This is why I love talking about this stuff, because I am in this shit so deep, and I myself am afraid to be completely healed. Because then who the fuck am I going to blame it on? If I get pissed and tell someone to go to hell and then feel ashamed of myself for acting so non-compassionately, I can't blame that on anybody. That's my fault. That's on me. So yeah, being healed, big responsibility. But, to tie it all in, we blame different parts of ourselves for behavior that makes us feel ashamed of ourselves. And we have to blame because there has to be a reason we acted that way. And there has to be a reason because we all live in our heads and can't imagine a world that is just entropy. It's just magic. It's just energy. And sometimes we can't know the reason. Uncomfortable, but true.